For the last 40 years, women have not been forced to have children against their will. It's a very important thing for women to be able to decide for themselves when and whether they're going to have children. If you want to have a child, it's a wonderful thing. But if you don't want to have a child, being forced to is a form of enslavement.
For over 40 years, our nation has been divided. It's a battle of ideologies between abortion rights advocates and the pro-life movement.
Young people are pro-life because our world, despite these 40 years of legalized abortion, are as uncomfortable with it as ever. In the political realm, in a church sermon, in a debate, no matter when the word abortion comes up, we're uncomfortable.
It's something that I think in schools it's not really, you don't really talk about it, you try to avoid talking about it, but it's really such like a huge issue.
For me, it's just incredible sadness that after 40 years, children are still being killed. It's just abortion on demand, and it's getting worse.
40 is the number for the end of testing, and I feel like in some ways that we're kind of coming out of a wilderness. America is awakening to the reality of what abortion really is.
Abortion is always going to be controversial in our society when people determine that they are the arbiters of right and wrong. They are the arbiters of life and death, and it's a woman's choice to decide.
When I read the Roe v. Wade decision and realized that it would be legal in this country, not only legal, but it would be almost promoted, that you can kill any child in the womb up to and including the day of that child's birth. The child could even get born through an abortion and you could let it die, kill it, not give care. That was outrageous.
When you actually read the decision, it is so indefensible as a legal matter, and even pro-choice legal scholars who like the result have come out and admitted, oh, you know, the analysis here is complete garbage.
Justice Harry Blackmun, who wrote the majority opinion in Roe v. Wade, ruled that the 14th Amendment entailed a right to privacy, which included the right for a woman to have an abortion.
Privacy is not in the Constitution. You can't find that word anywhere in there, but the Supreme Court, by extension, pushed it in there enough to pass two decisions, Roe versus Wade out of Texas and Doe versus Bolton out of Georgia. Neither case gave grounds for this kind of a decision at all. So, as one of the justices said, it was cut from whole cloth. It was made up and handed to us as something constitutional. If you read the Constitution carefully, there's nothing that suggests that you could ever have an abortion.
Roe v. Wade was an assault at the very foundation of what our country was built upon, the rule of law, and slow, careful decision-making processes, looking at precedent and dealing with our written Constitution seriously. And that was not done in 1973.
In the 70s, nobody wanted to talk about it. They wanted to say it was settled law, the Supreme Court had ruled, no point in talking about it. We believed it was important to show people what abortion really was and go out on the streets, do protests, picket the, a lot of the same kinds of things that we did in the civil rights movement.
In the early days of the pro-life movement, where we actually sat down, in the early days we actually called them sit-ins, but to sit down in front of the doors to an abortion clinic to defend the unborn in that way, I still think is a valid approach, as long as it's nonviolent.
This movement is all about equality. It's all about justice. It's really a very simple concept, so simple and yet so easily forgotten in the course of human history that we think that some groups of people really aren't as equal as the rest.
I don't think that the tragedy of abortion, the enormous damage that's been done to our culture and our society is going to be over in a short time.